morning. Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me this morning to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's just take a moment to become present. Find a nice, comfortable seated position where your spine and the back of your neck can sit nice and long and tall, opening up your chest and opening up your diaphragm and opening up your heart. Let's gently close our eyes and soften our thoughts. Soften our eyes, the way we see things. Soften our shoulders. Take the weight of the world off of them. And soften our heart. Let that judgment person just sit outside of your mat today. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale, and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. You may open your eyes. For this morning's intention, you may think of a positive word or a phrase to have with you on your mat and perhaps carry with you throughout the day. This morning's intention I'd like to talk about is the fourth limb of yoga, which is pranayama. The fourth limb of yoga is out of the 8 limbs of yoga, and the pranayama is a really important part of piece of that whole 8-limb yoga system. Because the first thing we do when we're born is to take a breath. And the last thing we do before we die is to take a breath. Breathing is our source of life, and we do it quite unconsciously. Pranayama is about breathing consciously. Pranayama, or prana rather, is Sanskrit for life force. And yama is Sanskrit for control. So we're controlling that life force. It's that breathing consciously. Pranayama starts with awareness and uses controls or techniques to have our breath guide us into well-being. We can use these techniques for yoga, in our asana, or in our meditation practices, or we can use them off the mat to reduce anxiety, increase energy, and improve sleep. So as we usually do in every class, we have a section of pranayama. Today we're going to have a lot of sections of pranayama. So the first thing I'd like you to do is just to observe your natural breath. Just take a moment and just kind of maybe close your eyes and focus on how you're naturally breathing. So it's kind of that unconscious style of breathing that you do. Do you breathe from your nose or do you breathe from your mouth? There's a yogi that I follow, and she had a great saying. She said, "The nose is for breathing, the mouth is for eating." And the American Lung Association agrees with that statement. The nostrils filters, warms, and humidifies air in a way that the mouth can't. It helps to regulate the oxygen and carbon dioxide levels and improve blood circulation. So let's just take another moment to observe again how we naturally breathe, just that unconscious breathing that we do. Do you breathe from your chest or from your stomach? So, Harvard Health claims that stomach breathing encourages full oxygen exchange, slows the heartbeat, and can lower blood pressure. They suggest practicing breathing techniques, controlled breathing, pranayama, 5 to 10 minutes a day. And you could often do that if you're a meditator. You can incorporate that breathing technique in there. So I'm going to go to the mat now, and we're going to start with a little meditation using a pranayama. The first pranayama is called Dirga, and it's also known as complete breath. Dirga means in Sanskrit, complete. Also known as the three-part breath because it encourages that three-part being your stomach, your ribs, and your chest. Oftentimes, when we're breathing unconsciously, our normal breathing pattern, we're breathing all kind of up in here. And we only use about 4 to 7% of our lung capacity. And up here is where, in the chest breathing, is where that fight and flight system is. So if we're constantly breathing up there, we're kind of putting ourselves in a state of anxiety a little bit too much. So that complete breath with the stomach, ribs, and chest will help, as Harvard Medical said, with that full exchange of oxygen, carbon dioxide, and it just kind of brings calmness to your system. So with that, typically we have our right hand on our tummy and our left hand on our chest, so we can feel that air passage going up. And it's kind of like a wave in the ocean. You would breathe in and your stomach would expand. You could feel that against your hand. And then the flow of the wave of the breath would come up to your ribs and then come up to your chest. And then on the exhale, it would just flow away, just like a wave kind of receding on the beach, going back into the ocean. So from the exhale, you release the air from your chest, from your ribs, and from your stomach. So there's a mudra that is really helpful in getting yourself to breathe all the way down into your stomach. And I taught it before, and I just am quite fascinated with, I think, how effective it is. So when you have your hands open and you focus on your breath, you can feel your breath up into your chest area. And then if you take your index finger and your thumb and bring them together for mudra and breathe, you can feel that breath drop down into your rib cage, and then rib cage and your chest. And then if you add your middle finger to all of that, so you have your thumb and your index and your middle finger all touching, and you start to breathe, all of a sudden, magically, it seems your stomach gets involved without much effort. So let's just take a moment here for a meditation pause using this mudra and really focus on how you could feel that breath in your stomach come up to your ribs and come up to your chest and then back again. You can even play with your fingers if you want to just test it out a little bit. You're removing one and adding one. Okay, we can release from that. So the next pranayama, controlled breathing, life force, I'd like to talk about is the Sama-Vritti. Sama-Vritti. And that means in Sanskrit, equal length breathing. So you're breathing in at the same length that you're exhaling. And James Nestor wrote a book called Breathe, or Breath. Keep doing that, breath. And he did a lot of studies, personally involved in studies, and also referenced a lot of studies on, the subtitle is called The New Science of a Lost Art, which is breathing. And in it, actually toward the end of the book, not to be a spoiler alert, he come up with the number for a perfect breath. The perfect breath would be a count of 5.5 seconds on an inhale and 5.5 seconds on an exhale. So that's equal length, and that's that Sama-Vritti equal length breath. And this is a breathing technique that you often have heard called box breathing. Maybe the military uses this a lot before they go and engage into what they do. So it's the box breath where everything is kind of evenly paced around. And we're going to use it this morning to do our seated sun breath. So try to, it's actually a lot slower than you think. It is 5.5 seconds per exchange. So I'm going to try to replicate that as best as possible. So we'll just bring our fingertips to the side and inhale slowly up to the top. Oh, I think I should go a little faster. And then exhale down with our hands together. We're going to bring our hands down heart center on the count of 5.5 seconds. And then open. And then close. And then up. And then down. So I'm doing the 1/1000 thing. So you kind of get an idea of how long that is. So we'll just kind of eliminate the counting and just slowly do a couple more. So inhaling up And exhaling down. Inhaling open. Exhaling close. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale open. Exhale close. Inhale up. Exhale down. One last time, inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale open. Exhale close. Inhale up. And exhale down. So I was watching the second hand on my clock here, and that last one we were really close to that 5.5 seconds per inhale exhale exchange. So you see how actually long that is, and that's what he advocates to be your normal breathing. So his whole thing, and I didn't understand at first, was breathe less. And I'm like, what? You know, like breathe less, but it's you're not going. You're just having these nice long inhales and nice long exhales. You're not panting like a dog. So Sama-Vritti, 5.5 seconds per inhale, per exhale. And next one is Vishama-Vritti, and that's unequal breathing. So you have one that you can do your inhale at a certain amount, and then your exhale can be 2 counts longer, or you can do your exhale at a certain count, and your inhale would be 2 counts longer. So either end of the spectrum. So if you're inhaling more than you're exhaling, you're kind of bringing life energy into you. You're kind of waking up and energizing your system. If you're extending your exhale longer, then you're relaxing and trying to calm down and just pausing into sleep. So that's the idea, is that the more of the inhale, more energizing, the more of the exhale, more relaxing. We mention that every time we start our class. So with that, we're going to do our seated sun breath. So we're going to inhale up, and then exhale quickly down to the left side. And we'll take a nice long inhale, sweeping up and twisting over to the right, still on the inhale. Once we get over to the right, we'll bring our hands down fairly quickly for the exhale. So we are accentuating the inhale and shortening the exhale. So building energy. Inhale up. Twisting over to the left, and then exhale quickly down. Inhale slowly up. Twisting over to the right on the inhale, and exhale quickly down. One last time, inhale up. Twisting over to the left, exhale quickly down. And then we're going to come up onto our hands and knees. And we'll do just a few of our regular asanas. And we come into tabletop with our wrists right below our shoulders and our knees right below our hips. Navel's tucked to the spine. Weight is evenly distributed in your hands, kind of gently pushing down to create space between your shoulders and your ears. We will just turn our nose to the right, turn our head to the right, and then bring it back to center, and then over to the left, and then back to center and over to the right, and back to center and over to the left, and back to center. One more time, over to the right, back to center and over to the left. And then we'll go into cat-cows, and this is a spot where you can really use your Sama-Vritti, that equal length breath. Coordinate your inhales and your exhales, trying to use that 5.5 seconds per inhale and exhale. We're going to round our back, dropping our head down, our tailbone goes down, really stretching out our spine for cat. And then inhaling, lifting up, tailbone goes up, gaze goes straight ahead for cow. And slowly again, coming into cat. Then lifting the head and tailbone up for cow. And we'll just continue here for a few moments at your own pace. Actually, the pace should probably be equal for all of us if we're following that 5.5 count or seconds. And then we'll come back to tabletop. We'll bring our knees together. We'll do a few bird dogs. And bird dogs, I'm going to incorporate the Vishama-Vritti and have it be unequal length breath. So we're going to extend our right leg back, the toes pointed, extend our right arm forward, fingertips pointed. So inhale with a point, and then exhale, flexing your toes down toward the mat. Inhale, exhale, 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 and we'll put both knee and hand back down. We'll do that on the other side. So lifting the left leg up to hip height, pointing the toes, lifting the right arm up, pointing the fingers forward. So inhale, exhale, 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 and put everything down again. So then we're back to tabletop. You take the left knee and bring it close to the right wrist. And just guide it up, put it on the mat right below your right wrist. And then we're going to sit down and come into deer pose. So our legs and knees are in that M shape. And we're going to do a pranayama, which is called Nadi Shodana, or alternate nostril breathing. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we can use pranayamas off the mat to help with anxiety, increase energy, or improve sleep. So this is one that is a great story I heard years ago about Nadi Shodana. It helps with anxiety. So the story goes that there was a person who tried medications, tried counseling, tried acupuncture, basically kind of covered the gamut of things to reduce panic attacks. Nothing was working. Someone introduced that gentleman, to Nadi Shodana, and that actually worked to alleviate his panic attacks. One of our yogi members, his daughter is a dancer, was in New York City, but a professional dancer. And he told me that they use this Nadi Shodana technique before they go on stage to reduce anxiety. So it's a very effective breathing technique. But it also, what it does is the Nadi are channels. Nadi is Nodi, and those are channels that run along your spine, and they cross your spine. There's two of them, left and right, and they cross your spine at the major chakras. So it's a way of kind of cleansing out all the chakras, if you have blockages in your chakra, it's a cleansing and balancing type of breathing. So maybe that's what helps with the anxiety. They may be working together, but it's quite a good breathing technique. In one yoga class I used to go to, the teacher always started every class with this particular breathing technique. So to do that, we've done it before. There's a mudra that you can use. It's called Vishnu, and it actually is a mudra to help balance. And since the whole Nadi Shodana is about balancing the energy in your channels and chakras, it kind of fits in. So your hand goes out, and your index and ring finger, your index and pointer finger, index and middle finger, there we go. Two of your fingers go down, and you use your thumb and your ring finger to close your nostrils. If that's uncomfortable for you, you can use your thumb and index finger, whatever, but it just adds another a level or a layer to this breathing technique by using the balancing mudra. So the idea is to bring your thumb to your nostril, to the right nostril, and inhale through the left. And once you've reached the top of the inhale, you're going to switch fingers, bringing the ring finger to your left nostril and closing that one, and exhaling through the right nostril. Then inhale through the right nostril. And once you reach the top of that inhale, you're going to take your thumb and close the right nostril and exhale through the left. And then inhale again through the left. At the top of the inhale, switch fingers. Exhaling and then inhaling again. Switch fingers at the top of each inhale. Every time you reach the inhale, the top of the inhale, you switch the fingers. We'll move the arm there. So let's come back to tabletop. We're going to tuck our toes under, walk our hands back, and come to the balls of our feet and come up to mountain pose. We'll take our big toes, line them up with a straight edge of the mat, and then lift our toes, all of our toes up off the mat, and then bring them down to the mat, and then lift our heels up off the mat, and then bring them down, and really feeling that connection to the mat, feeling that grounded to the mat, to the earth, that root chakra, which is just all about foundation and feeling stable and secure. So we're going to connect, and it's a great chakra to get in touch with during the fall season, because the dry leaves blowing around, the wind blowing around, you really want to feel grounded. So with the groundedness, then we'll go through our mountain pose, which is also the essentials of good posture. Legs are nice and straight and strong. Little bend in the knees, that flexibility. Navel's tucked to the spine. Spine in the back of the neck's nice and long. The shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Chin is tucked back just slightly so that your spine and back of your neck's one nice long line. And the crown of your head reaches up to the sky. So then we'll take a sweeping big inhale, bringing your hands overhead, and then bringing our hands down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Protect our lower back. Then inhale, bringing our hands to our shins, nice straight back, sending the gaze straight down. And then send the crown of our head down toward the mat. We'll just let our hands dangle here for a moment. Just feel gravity taking over. Maybe each inhale and then each exhale, you feel you're relaxing into the pose a little bit more. Then we'll sweep our hands all the way up overhead. And as they come up overhead, palms come together, and we'll lift our feet so that our heels are up, and we're up on our tippy toes. And then we'll slowly lower back down on the exhale, lowering our hands and our feet as we go. We'll do that a couple more times, lifting our arms and hands up to the sky and coming up onto our tippy toes as we move our hands up. And just balancing on our tippy toes here for a moment. And then relaxing our hands down and lowering our heels back down to the mat. And one last time, sweeping our hands up, coming up onto our tippy toes. And slowly, on the exhale, lowering back down. Our hands and heels slowly come back down. And then we're going to send our hands all the way down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Inhale, hands to the shins, half forward fold, nice flat back. And then crown of our head reaching down toward the mat. And then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together. And then we'll do a few side stretches. So bring our right hand down and then tip over to the right side. Then inhale, come back up. And exhale, tipping over to the left side. And you'll notice a pattern in yoga inhale back up. We'll do that again on both sides. That when you bring yourself into kind of a contracted position, that's when you exhale. So when you're straightening up and opening up, that's the inhale part. And then if you have contraction going on, like tipping over to the left side, and you feel that your body's closing, it's not as open, that's the exhale. So if you're out doing your daily chores, we'll bring both our hands back down to the mat. And you are running out of breath, just kind of synchronize what you're doing with, anytime that you're crunched in, like when we came down to the mat, we're exhaling. And then we're kind of straightening out with the half forward fold, we're inhaling. And then crunching down our head toward the mat, again, we're contracting. That's an exhale. So we'll sweep our hands all the way up. You need to gain a little bit of rhythm with whatever chore you're doing. We'll bring our hands to heart center. See if you can synchronize your breath with that chore, give you added energy. So then we'll do a few chair pose. So you can either have your arms straight out or lift your arms up or have them anywhere in between. So we're going to drop our hips down toward our ankles, bending our knees, keeping our knees behind our toes, tucking our navel to our spine, coming into chair pose. And that's an exhale. And then when we come back up, inhale, we're straightening up, and then down again, contracting on the exhale. And inhale, come back up. And one last time, bringing our hips down toward the mat. Maybe go a little bit further than you did. And then inhale back up. And then we'll bring our hands back down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Half forward fold, bringing our hands to our shins, nice flat back. Then crown of our head reaches down toward the mat. And then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together. Palms come to heart center. Palms come to the back of your hips. Feet are about hip width apart. Navel's tucked to the spine. Shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Tucking our chin to our chest. We'll just roll our shoulders further back, coming into a supported back bend. And then breathe into this. This is one, we'll get into pauses, but this is not a pose where you pause your breath. You keep the flow of inhales and exhales going. And if it comes a little shallow, straighten up a little bit so that your flow of breath remains strong. And then come back up to mountain pose. Well done. Now we'll bring our pinky toes out to the edges, angling our heels in at 45 degrees, and we go into a wide-legged squat. So bringing our hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. We'll drop our hips down toward the mat, bringing our torso between our legs, our elbows resting on the inside of our knees. then we'll bring our sit bones down to the mat. So the next breathing technique is one that doesn't get much press, I think, in yoga, but it's called Viloma. And Viloma in Sanskrit means against the grain, and this is where pauses come in. It develops skillful breath control and awareness. So this is Viloma. There's two versions of this, just like the Vishama-Vritti, where you can have unequal breaths. You can do the unequal breath accentuating the inhale or accentuating the exhale. Viloma's the same way. You can accentuate the inhale, and the pauses are placed in the inhale. So it leads to this sensation along the spine of energy rising. So to do that, we're going to do 3 inhales, and I'll count. We're going to count up to 6. I'm going to count, and then we'll pause. So inhale, 1, 2, pause, 3, 4, pause, 5, 6, pause. So the 1, 2 pause should start at your stomach, the 3, 4 pause at your ribs, and the 5, 6 pause at your chest. So let's try that a couple of times. Starting at our stomach, 1, 2, pause, 3, 4, and this is all on the inhale. Pause, 5, 6, pause, and then exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We'll try that again. Starting with the stomach, 1 on the inhale, 1, 2, pause. To the ribs, 3, 4, pause. To the chest, 5, 6, pause. And then exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And one last time. 1, 2. From the stomach, 1, 2, pause. Ribs, 3, 4, pause. Chest, 5, 6, pause. Then exhale, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So this is if you're, there's a breathing technique that's called, it's pretty well known, 4, 7, 8. And 4 is the inhale, you're counting to 4, you're pausing for 7, and you're exhaling for 8. And that breathing technique is supposed to be really, really good to help you get to sleep. Personally, I like the Sama-Vritti where the flow is even. I usually use a 6 count, so I count inhales up to 6 and exhales out to 6, out at 6. And that to me creates kind of a nice flow of ocean imagery, so that it kind of lulls me to sleep. But the 4, 7, 8 is supposed to be a very good technique. And that is a Viloma style of breathing technique where you have the pauses. So let's get back to our asanas. We're going to go back to tabletop. And then we're going to extend both feet down to the bottom of the mat, coming into plank pose. So our wrists are right below our shoulders, heels are pushing to the end of the mat, nails tucked to the spine so we don't have any saggy tummies. And then we're going to lower down to the mat, either knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga. Sliding our hands forward, coming into Sphinx. We'll just kind of relax here. Probably could have said all that, what I just mentioned while we're in Sphinx. And then we're going to bring our hands alongside of us, bringing the chin down to the mat, lifting the right leg up, and then bringing it back down, lifting the left leg up, bringing it back down, and then we lift both legs and both arms up, like airplane, flying through the air like Superwoman, and then bringing them both back down. Bring our hands underneath our shoulders, tucking our elbows toward our ribs. We're going to gently lift our chin and chest up, coming into Cobra. And then push all the way down into your hands, come up to up dog. So you're on the tops of your feet, your arms fully extended. And then flip your feet over and come into downward dog. We'll walk the dog here for a moment. And then we'll bring the left or the right leg, right knee to the right elbow, pushing off with the left foot, and then back to downward dog and pedal out. And then right knee to right elbow, and then back again to downward dog, pedal out. And then we're going to bring the right foot between the hands. So bending the knee, bringing the right foot forward, coming between the hands, coming into runner's lunge. We'll bring the left knee down to the mat. Top of the left foot comes down to the mat, coming into low lunge. And then we'll sweep our hands up to the sky. And then bring them back down to the mat. Tuck the back toes under again, coming back to runner's lunge. And you can either, we're going to go into a high lunge, or you can alternate it with warrior one. So warrior one, you would pivot your back foot and bring it all the way down to the mat. Or the high lunge, you're still going to stay on the ball of your foot, your left foot. And then we'll sweep our hands up to the sky. And then we'll bring our hands down. We're going to straighten our front leg out, sweeping our hands to the back like airplane arms. And then sweep our hands up to the sky again, bending our front knee as we go. And then sweeping our hands down again, straightening out our front leg, sweeping our hands back, and then sweeping our hands up to the sky again, bending the front knee. And one last time, sweeping the hands back, straightening the leg, and then sweeping our hands one last time up to the sky. And then bring the hands back down to the mat. Coming into runner's lunge again. We'll place the left hand down on the mat, sweeping the right hand up to the sky for a twist. And then bring the right hand down to the mat and bring that right hand to the inner part of your right foot. So you have both hands on the inside of your right foot for lizard pose. Back leg is nice and straight and strong. The heels pushing to the back of the mat. And then we'll bring our hands back to runner's lunge. Bring our foot back to join the other one for downward dog. And pedal out here for a moment. And then we'll bring both knees down to the mat, coming back to tabletop. We'll do that again on the other side. So from tabletop, we're going to extend both legs to the bottom of the mat, coming into plank. We'll lower down, either chaturanga or knees, chest, chin. Send our fingers out to the top of the mat, coming into Sphinx. So the elbows are right below the shoulders. Tops of the feet are actively in the mat. And then we'll send our hands down, arms down alongside, placing our chin on the mat. And we'll do half locust and then to a full locust. So raising the right leg up and then back down. Raising the left leg up and then back down. Lifting both legs and both arms up and then back down. Bringing our hands underneath our shoulders, elbows tucked to our sides, gently lifting our chin and chest up, coming into cobra. And then fully extending our arms, coming into up dog, and then to downward dog. And we'll pedal out here for a little bit. And then we'll bring our left knee to our left elbow, and then back again to downward dog, pedal out. Left knee to left elbow, and pedal out. And then the left foot's gonna come up between the hands, so bending the knee, sending the left foot forward, coming into runner's lunge. And then bringing the right knee down, top of the right foot down to the mat. We'll sweep our hands up to the sky. And then back down again. And then again, we can tuck our foot or toes under, coming back to runner's lunge, or you can use the option of pivoting your entire back foot down to the mat so that you're coming into warrior one. Or if you have your toes tucked under, we'll go into high lunge. And then sweeping our hands down, straightening our left leg out, sending our hands back for airplane arms, and then sweeping our hands up to the sky as we bend our front knee. We'll do this a couple more times. Oops. And one last time. Arms go up. And then we'll bring our hands back down to the mat, coming back to runner's lunge. With the right hand planted on the mat, we'll sweep the left hand up to the sky. And bring the left hand back down. So both hands are on the inside of the left foot. And then from lizard pose, we'll go back to runner's lunge. And then send the left foot back to join the right, back to downward dog. And then we'll bring our knees Both knees back down to the mat. And then bring the left knee toward the right wrist and sit down, coming into deer pose again. So Viloma 2 places the pauses within the exhales. So same idea, only in reverse. So I'll walk you through it. The inhale, I'm going to count from 1 to 6. And then on the exhale, we'll do 6, starting with the chest. 6, 5, pause. And then 4, 3 from the ribs, pause. And then 2, 1 from the stomach, pause. So let's start. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then exhale, 6, 5 from the chest, pause. 4, 3 from the ribs, pause. 2, 1 from the stomach, pause. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, 5 from the chest, pause. 4, 3 from the ribs, pause. 2, 1 from the stomach, pause. And last time, inhale, counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Exhale, 6, 5 from the chest, pause. 4, 3 from the ribs, pause. 2, 1 from the stomach, pause. So let's now roll down on our back. You can do it any way you want. Bringing your knees to your chest. Give our knees a nice squeeze and rock back and forth. Massage your lower back. And then we'll put our feet on the mat. We're going to do some bridge pose and incorporate that Viloma number 2 there. So we inhale, tucking our navel to our spine, making that little bowl in our tummy, and pushing down our feet, lifting our hips up to the sky, and just come as high up as comfortable for you. And then when you lower back down to the mat, I'll let you do this yourself. Just kind of exhale, lower down, pause, and then lower down with the ribs, pause, and then lower down so your lower back hits, but you're kind of working that stomach area. So we'll do this 2 more times. Pushing down, lifting our hips up to the sky, and then slowly working our way back down with little pauses in between, focusing on the chest, ribs, and stomach. And one last time, pushing down, lifting our hips up to the sky, and then slowly lowering with pauses. And when you've landed, you can bring your knees to your chest, give them a nice hug. We'll send our arms out, T shape, shoulder height, and then lower our knees to the right on the exhale. Send our gaze to the left, fingertips. Then inhale, lifting our knees back up to the sky. Then we'll lower our knees to the left. And then send our gaze over to the right fingertips. And then slowly turning your head back to center, lifting your knees back to center, and sending your feet down to the bottom of the mat, preparing for Shavasana. Just letting your whole body relax, utilizing your breath to help with that relaxation. So taking a big inhale through your nose and exhaling through your mouth this time, just so that you get that full exhale and relaxation. And you can do that a couple more times, just so you really drop down into your mat. And the poem I have for you today is by Dana Faulds, titled Breathe In. Breathe in spaciousness and acceptance of what is. Breathe out resistance. Breathe in possibility and optimism. Breathe out fear and doubt. Breathe in ease. Breathe out the need to change the way this moment is unfolding. Breathe in the certainty that what we really are is so much bigger than pain and suffering. Breathe out limitation and conditioning. Breathe in divinity and openness. Breathe out a prayer of thanks that even in the midst of difficulty, there is awareness.